Hey cruisers, welcome back to my page. We're cruising with the Adams. I haven't been on for a minute, but I'm hoping to start getting back in videos here shortly. So today I want to talk about whether or not you should cruise with a birth certificate or passport. Now, I know that you can cruise out of a United States port with a birth certificate. You don't necessarily need your passport. However, I prefer to book my cruise and have a passport to go with, because when I first started out cruising, I was a part of a lot of like Facebook groups and trying to learn whether or not, okay, do I need my passport? Do I not need my passport? Because it is a thing where if you cruise out of a United States port, you don't really need your passport. You just need a birth certificate to show. And one thing that I noticed about a lot of people is that they say that it's harder to cruise with a birth certificate because, you got to show all this documentation and like if their names didn't match what their ID said and their birth certificates and their marriage license and things like that. So for me personally, I book with you can book with and decide later if you want your passport or if you're going to want your birth certificate. Now for me, when I booked, sorry, I just have so much on my desk. So when I booked, I decided right away, passport. Right away. Now, when I first went on my cruise, I had brought my birth certificate, my ID, my passport, my marriage license certified, and I think that's it, because that's all I really needed. So I thought, oh my gosh, okay, so when we go through this port to get on the ship, they're going to want to see everything. Like, they're going to want to see my birth certificate, they're going to want to see my passport, they're going to want to see my marriage license, because obviously I'm married, so my name doesn't match my birth certificate. However, I noticed the line went quicker with a passport versus a birth certificate line, way faster. Secondly, I noticed that they didn't really care to see anything. All they wanted to see was my passport and my ID, just to make sure that they matched what my cruising said. So if you want to get on the ship faster, or if you want to go through the line faster so that way you can hang out upstairs or wherever until you get on the cruise ship, I say get a passport. I know it might be a little more expensive or whatnot, and you might have to wait a little longer, but if you're anything like me, I booked my first cruise like a year and a half to 2 years out, so I would have time to do all my research on stuff, learn about stuff. I think I had gotten my passport, like I had went in and paid for my passport, and I got it within like 3 months maybe. So I had it way before time of my cruise. But that's one thing that I really noticed about passports versus birth certificate. Like, you think about it, like, okay, it shouldn't take that long, but I know people that complain about birth certificates, like, oh, I got turned away because of this, or oh, I forgot my birth certificate. I know people forget their passports too, but I notice a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I forgot this, or they get into line and they have to wait forever, or they get turned away because their name doesn't match and they don't have proof to show, oh my gosh, I've been divorced, I've been married, blah, 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 blah. So I noticed in my personal experience, and with everybody I've basically talked to that also cruise, get a passport. It's so much easier. Yeah, it's a little bit more money, but guess what? It's easier. You just hand them your passport, they check over everything, boom, you're through the line going through security. It's pretty easy. So that's what I would do. I would just get a passport. I know it's a little bit more expensive and some people can't really afford it, but save up a little bit and then go on your cruise, or book your cruise a little bit further out in advance if you can, and then go ahead and work on getting your passport. Because I know that's what I did, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to spend this money on this passport. And my husband already had his passport because he traveled around a lot for school. But like, I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't really have the money for this, but I'll go ahead and get it. And I did it, and I'm glad, because I think we were in line maybe 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes at most. Got right through, got down, sat down, and we were on the ship from the time we arrived at the port to the time we got on the ship, I would say it only took about 45 minutes, if that, 30 to 45 minutes. And a lot of it, I feel like, is because we did have our passports, so it was really easy just so they could prove who we are, and then we were on our way to get on the ship. So if you ask me and a few people that I know is like on Facebook, they'll say get the passport. It is so much easier. And make sure when you book your cruise, whether it's with a travel agent or by yourself, whoever, make sure that you put the correct names down. Like if you have a name of Timothy but you go by Tim, make sure that you put Timothy, because you want to make sure it matches your ID, and when you get a passport it needs to match. So your ID and your passport need to match, and all 3 items of your passport, your ID, and your cruise boarding pass needs to match your full name. And I think that's it for this cruise video. Have a nice night, guys.